What's up? We're going to do our usual system recap stuff of going through some highlights, taking a look at some of the numbers from the evening, but then I want to have a discussion not about tonight's games, but about a transaction the Twins made, putting Chris Paddack on the injured list and what this might mean for David Festa. So stick around for that. But again, as promised, we're starting out with the highlights, and Brooks Lee, playing third base for the Saints here, makes a beautiful barehanded grab and throw on this bunt attempt. He's playing a little bit of third, a little bit of second base, in addition to, of course, his usual shortstop. Looked really good on that play. And then in the sixth inning, hits a go-ahead home run. This stuck. The Saints ended up winning 6-5. So the go-ahead home run. Interesting stadium there. Highlights of tonight's Twins game now, started by Joe Ryan. A good performance, I thought. He got off to a really rough start, but righted the ship. That's kind of a sign, I think, of a veteran guy. Putting things together, figuring out what's working and what's not, or identifying some kind of changes he need to be made. So really pleased that Joe Ryan ended up going 6 innings. But this was kind of the difference of the game here. And Byron Buxton, I bet you, will tell you he catches that ball 8 times out of 10. It would have been a tough play. You see at 413. It's a really big outfield there in Arizona. Would have been a difficult catch. I think Byron Buxton would tell you again that he'd make that catch more often than not. He did make up for that a bit by hitting a home run. Ryan Jeffers had the hit of the night for the Twins, though, a 3-run game-tying home run in the 7th inning. Too bad the Twins could not pull off this win, because that was huge. Great to see Jeffers, kind of an emotional leader of the team, in my opinion. The Diamondbacks take the lead with this just an unsatisfying way to lose a game, man. That drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the 7th, and they made it stick. Taking a look at some of the box score, quiet night for the lineup, really. Byron Buxton had 3 of the Twins' 6 hits, including a double in the top of the 9th inning, potentially game-tying run. Ryan Jeffers hit a ball really hard for the final out, too, so the Twins did get something going there in the 9th inning, but could not pull off tying the game or winning it. Again, Joe Ryan, I don't think anybody would have expected him to go 6 early in the start, and he did it. Twins don't win, so I'm sure, it's kind of a sour taste in his mouth still, but yeah. And again, if Byron Buxton makes that catch, maybe this game goes completely differently. Unfortunately, Alcala gets the loss because he gives up the run, but again, he did not give up much hard contact at all. Frustrating game. Unfortunately, it was not a very highlight-worthy night across the minor league system, we'll put it that way. Lee hit the home run. Edouard Julien for the Saints, who had a 2-hit game with a walk, stole his third base since getting sent down, so he's doing some running there. Aaron Sabato hit his 8th home run of the year, and if he missed a decent amount of time, he's got a OPS comfortably in the 800s. I think it's like 830-something. So great to see him playing well. Would love to see him get promoted to St. Paul at some point, Aaron Sabato. He's 25 years old in Double-A. Kind of seems like he's gaining momentum at this point. So good to see out of him. On the pitching side, really nothing to write home about. We'll put it that way. Pearson Ole's the only guy that completes 5 innings, and he didn't even record a strikeout. Moving on. Twins lose 5-4. Only team to win today was the Saints. They won 6-5, so Brooks Lee hitting that game-winning home run avoided, a potential straight sweep. And as promised, I want to talk about this transaction and then what the domino effect of it may become. Because Chris Paddack leaving the active roster, going on the 15-day injured list with right arm fatigue, as it's put out here, it's just shoulder. And then Ronnie Henriquez being recalled from AAA. He is not a starting pitcher anymore. He used to be a starting pitcher. He is now kind of a multi-inning reliever. He is not going. This isn't a long-term move. I don't think Ronnie Henriquez long-term is going to be on the Twins. At some point, they're going to need to add a starting pitcher. Now, the big question is, who is that going to be? And a lot of people are excited because they think it might be David Festa, and it might be. I'm not dismissing that idea. David Festa, striking everybody out in AAA right now, really hitting his stride. Earlier this season, when people, I think was when the Woods Richardson, the Varland out, Woods Richardson in move happened, some people were suggesting maybe Festa, and I kind of poo-pooed that idea because he'd been not throwing a ton of innings. He's done really good about building things up. And we'll take a look at some numbers here in a minute. But he's absolutely, I kind of rejected that idea earlier. I think that is a much more realistic idea at this point. So, yeah, let's take a look at what he's been doing lately. So this is his entire game long of just innings pitched, just pitches, and just strikes. And the thing I want to call out, one of these games, I believe it might have been the May 17th game. That was actually a game that got postponed due to rain. So that was only 4 innings. He had zero control over that one. So kind of keep that in mind. But he's throwing 5 innings on a pretty consistent basis. 6 innings pitched into the 6th, his last start. Mostly 80 pitches, 90 his last start. He's throwing more strikes, which is another thing that I was kind of calling out too. His strike percentage was like around 60. The Twins usually have all of their starting pitchers above Major League average, which is I think like 64 maybe. At this point, Festa on the season is at 64, but I think since the start of June, I want to say, his last 4 starts, he's at like 67, which is awesome for him. And kind of what we've seen out of him. He's not the best control command guy. I don't think that's really I don't think we're going to see him take great leaps and bounds there. But obviously misses a ton of bats. He's got like a 13 K per 9 or something like that. It's absolutely insane. So I do think at this point, I'm not going to completely dismiss David Festa as an option to get called up. But my question is, and I think that this will tell us what the Twins are thinking, we didn't get a timetable on Chris Paddack. So we don't know if he's just going to be out the minimum 15 and then be back, or maybe like 20, something reasonable to where there's only a couple starts that need to get filled. Or if this is like, this dude's going to be out multiple months. We don't know. Shoulders seem to be kind of mysterious. So we'll see. And I think everything we need to know about Chris Paddack's time frame, whether the Twins are going to tell us or not, we're going to know by who gets called up. If they call up David Festa, I'm not going to expect Chris Paddack to be back for a while. If this is a situation where they just need a couple starts, maybe 2-3 starts, I don't think they're going to call up David Festa, and people are going to be disappointed. Maybe it'll be Louis Varland, but he just gave up 12 runs and 5 home runs in a start the other day. But Caleb Bosley, man, we've seen him on the Twins. People are going to hate to hear this because he's a 30-year-old guy. He doesn't strike out a lot of people. But this guy's been pitching really good for the Saints, man. He leads AAA in WHIP. He's 5th in ERA in AAA. It's been tough. It's been a tough pitching environment across all of AAA, and Caleb Bosley's pitched really well for the Saints. So I do think he is already on the 40-man roster. David Festa isn't. There is an open spot on the 40-man roster, which we'll talk about that. I want to talk a little bit more about Brooks Lee, too. But the Twins love them some waiver wire claims. They love to pick up random relievers and whatever off the waiver wire. I think they would prefer to do that because it's a free player. It's a guy that you don't have in your organization that you can pull into your organization, and you keep all those guys that you have, but you get this extra guy. I think that the Twins love to do that. I think that they would prefer to take that approach with this empty spot. But again, if Paddack's going to be out for a long time, they got to fight. This isn't a team that can get comfortable and just say, oh, we've got a cushion. We'll just roll with a random, Dallas Keuchel-esque rotation filler. No, they got to win games. I don't think they're going to add Festa to the 40-man and call him up for like a spot start situation. And I think I get that logic. Kind of transitioning to that discussion about Brooks Lee, you're not going to call up Brooks Lee and have him be a bench guy. So a lot of the discussion I've seen around Brooks Lee is, well, get rid of Kyle Farmer, call up Brooks Lee. This is the Twins. What I have up here is the Twins' playing time over the past 30 days, not including today. And Kyle Farmer has made 15 appearances and only got 38 plate appearances over the past 30 days. You are not doing that with Brooks Lee. So then it's like, okay, well, who up higher here are you going to take plate appearances away from? And I have Julian and Kirilloff crossed off because they're not in the active roster anymore. Martin has only been back for a little bit, but he's not playing. If we did this for the last couple weeks, he'd be still down pretty far. It's not like he's playing super regularly. I realize he started tonight, but again, Farmer's not playing much. Manuel Margot is actually playing well. Trevor Larnach is kind of slowing down. at the moment, or has been, in the short term, but he's still hitting the ball hard. And, I don't think this is a nice opportunity for him to have some runway. I don't think you want to give up on him and put Brooks Lee at second and then move Willie Castro out to left field long term. Would be sort of that move. So I think kind of in that same discussion with David Festa, Brooks Lee's not on the 40-man roster either. How's Brooks Lee going to break into this roster? Somebody in this mix is going to have to be out of the picture long term, I think. Willie Castro right now is sort of your primary second baseman. Yes, Farmer's playing against lefties, and then Willie's playing left field with Trevor Larnach taking a seat. So it's a big rotation, like we've seen a lot. How does Brooks Lee figure in there? Well, it definitely helps that he's playing some second base and some third base and looking good, looking comfortable at those positions as well. So that's a big help. That'll kind of get him some rotational possibilities with some of these guys. But I do think, it's going to take an injury. And then, even when that happens, there are guys on the 40-man roster already who would probably deserve another look, like Edouard Julien. You could make the argument that if you want to call up Brooks Lee, why wouldn't you just call up Edouard Julien? So it's going to be difficult for him. It's going to be difficult for both of these guys. I would guess, regardless of anything, that we are going to see them this year at some point. And again, with David Festa, it could be this week. So we'll wait and see on that one. He has that door opening with Chris Paddack. So Brooks Lee kind of needs something like that to happen. Great options, man. This is such a good situation for the Twins to be in right now. With all this depth and these guys at AAA, and again, Edouard Julien's there. Junior Severino is hitting out of his mind in AAA, and we can't even get him in the conversation right now. But even if we have sort of scenarios in which we're thinking, oh, what if this guy gets hurt? It's almost solving a problem for us. Well, hey, now we have space for David Festa. We have space for Brooks Lee. So, really cool situation. Anyway, thanks for hanging out for a little while extra. Some extra innings tonight. We'll talk again tomorrow.